Today I've got Chris Hanson, professional golfer. Chris, how are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Great to be on the show.
Thank you for coming on. So you obviously used to play on the European Tour. So I just want to kind of start first of all before we get into kind of that, and just start with the start of your career and how you got into golf, what age you started playing, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think I was pretty fortunate, really. I was in a massive golf, not a massive family, but a family who were very, very keen. Mum and dad played. Dad was a scratch golfer. Mum was sort of 12 handicap at her best, so obviously she could play as well. Sort of at the age of 3, they were obviously at the golf club a lot, and it just kind of naturally, I ended up being a member at the golf club at a very young age. I had two half brothers. I've got 3 half brothers now, but 2 who were very keen golfers as well up there, and it just naturally developed from there, really. I think I played football as well till the age of sort of 13. Really wanted to play football as I grew up, but I think it became clear that Sunday medals, junior golf, and Sunday league football, ended up being a bit of a natural choice to make, and went down the golf route.
Right. Okay. So what sort of handicap did you get to at the start then? Like, did you make a lot of progression pretty quickly, or was it a grind?
Yeah, not really, mate. No, I think I think I was off 13 when I was 13. That's what I kind of remember. I'm pretty sure it was that. I was at 12 at 12. 13 at 13, I think. Something like that rings a bell. And I was never really great. I just there was a good group of lads at the golf club. We were all a similar age, all kind of similar ability. I just loved it. You know, we played together summer holidays every day, like a lot of guys did. And yeah, I had a pretty well. I didn't have any sparkling amateur career, and I think at 16 years old, I was 3 handicap. Like, it's not particularly. My nephew's off +1 at 16 now. It's the handicap system's a little bit different, but yeah, I was certainly no superstars in amateur.
But you turned pro in 06, wasn't it? When you turned pro.
Yeah.
So how did you kind of get to the pro tour in the end? Did you play on amateur tournaments a lot, or what was your kind of route? I know you played on the European Tour, you played on Challenge Tour, your 4 wins came on the EuroPro Tour, was it? So before all of that, what was kind of your route? Was it just playing in local amateur tournaments and making your way up, or how'd you get there?
At 16, I went to a college called Myerscough over in Preston. So I was 3 handicap at 16. I think from a young age going there, I kind of had my heart set on being a golfer then. There was nothing else really what interested me. But I think at 18, I was on scratch. So I was playing for the county. I was playing for Yorkshire. But not like you say, a scratch golfer at 18 is not particularly easy. It's great, really. I think I played a couple of English amateurs, but lost in the first round. My only real highlight I can remember was I lost in the semi-finals of the British Boys, and I got in there as a first reserve. So I was I was kind of bottom of the pecking order there, and I think I knew I was going to turn pro. I did 4 years at Myerscough, so till I was 20. I was fortunate. I had met somebody through the Huddersfield area who was going to give me a little bit of sponsorship money to play. I was off scratch at the time, and I think I'd already made my mind up I was going to turn pro. So I think once I'd done that and I decided and I got a little bit of cash, I don't know whether that freed me up. I don't know. I had the rest of the summer, then I had 3 months and I got down to +3, set 2 or 3 course records in the area, won some decent local events, and that was it really. Turned pro at 20, yeah.
Right, and you mentioned there obviously the sponsorship that kind of helped you out with them when you were a little bit younger. I mean, what could you do at that kind of age? Obviously, it's really difficult to get yourself like a coach and all that kind of thing. So, what sort of team did you have at that point, if any, or was it just kind of your family supporting you and you practicing? Or
yeah, I guess I always had a coach who I'd sort of grown up with, so we kept on working together. I actually had a psychology guy who I'd worked with at college university, one of the teachers who just taught that as a subject, and we just kind of carried that on a sort of personal level or professional level. Once I turned pro, I'd always touched on a little bit of gym stuff and just through various people I'd met over the years and sort of through county teams and things. So I did have kind of a structure around me, really. And I think from the college I went to, there was a good system in place there with the coaches, and I kind of treated it probably as a job at an early age, really. I was always pretty good at structuring my practice. So
yeah,
turning pro, I kind of felt like I was not that I was any good, but I was trying to do it like as an average amateur before that, really.
Yeah, I mean, it must be pretty difficult at that age as well, with all the studies going on and obviously trying to get to events and all the cost of it and the traveling and stuff like that. So, I mean, were you just pretty fortunate to kind of like have enough money to be able to do that, or were you working part-time as well? Like, what was the situation with that, with getting around all the country, playing in all these tournaments?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky, really. I would not come from a background with money at all, but I was always quite proactive at trying to gain sponsorship and attract sponsorship. And not that you could offer a lot back at that stage in your career, other than time, really. But I had a few small sponsors at the golf club I was at. We did a golf day to raise some money. I did like a share scheme to raise money where we offered back a percentage, which I say majority of people probably never expected anything back, but it was a way of kind of everyone being able to financially sort of support me at whatever level they were at as well. So that worked nicely. So it got me up and running that first year. I had a little bit of university grant money, what I'd saved from the sports side of it, and yeah, I had a really good first year.
Good man. And obviously they played on the EuroPro as we mentioned, and the Challenge Tour. What was that kind of move like for you, going from playing in the amateur events to then turning pro and going and playing on these tours?
Yeah, I reckon I was probably very naive, really, that first year. Like I said, I had no experience really of traveling too much, playing amateur stuff, like a few events, but not particularly outside of the county, really. Sorry, but sorry, kids. So yeah, I was a bit naive, really, to probably the standard of it, and to some of the players who were playing. And I played a few little mini tour things in the lead up to sort of the EuroPro qualifying. I got through the first stage, which is not particularly a high standard, the first stage to get through. But then second stage, I actually missed the cut by a shot. I think I might have been 2 or 3 over or something. I kind of felt then it was probably like that was kind of it. I was done. Like, I didn't appreciate or know how the system worked. But I actually was, I think, first or second reserve for the first event down in Norwich. I ended up getting in as a reserve. And I was keen. I was young. I was, like I say, off I went, travelled down to Norwich, 4-hour, 5-hour drive. Ended up making the cut by 1, and then shot, I think, 6 under on my back 9 in the last round. To end up leading the tournament. I think I was come off the course, like first out, shot 6 on the back 9, leading the tournament. 10 grand is on up for first prize. They filmed a few shots. Bring my wife, and I'm like, I'm leading my girlfriend, I'm like, leading the tournament, like, and I ended up finishing 3rd, which kind of re-ranked me in my category from sort of not being able to play all the events to then being able to play everything. So it kind of made the season within the first week, really.
Right. And what sort of difference did you notice in terms of the actual game itself? Because like, I've spoken to people that have gone to, say, the European Tour before, or the PGA, from these kind of tours to try and make it. And the main answers tends to be obviously just the difference in quality, which is pretty obvious. But then they also talk about normally the short game is just so much better at that kind of level. Was that the kind of same for you, going from amateur to these tours, or was it a different part of the game?
Yeah, I don't know, really. It's just a lot of good players out there. Like, the depth is obviously quite strong, but like now, this is 15 years ago. Like, the depth now is crazy. Like, I used to always kind of explain back when I played EuroPro back in the 2006. It kind of felt like there was always, say the field was 150 players. I always used to kind of think there's probably 50 players who probably shouldn't really be playing in that field. And then there's 50 players who are probably trying to make the cut. And then there's 50 players who are competing like towards the top of the leaderboard. And probably only a handful who probably would really win week to week. But I think now you look at EuroPro, and like, I think I was looking earlier, the cut again is going to be 3-4 in par or something. Like, standard now is there's probably 20 guys who shouldn't be playing, and there's probably 130 guys competing to do well. The depth. I think every year there's probably, I say this a lot now, there's probably 100 more players turn pro every year, and there's less places to play. So the depth is just increasing all the time. So I think the biggest difference I found from being amateur to pro, I don't know really. I don't know. I think the biggest thing I found over the years with the better players is that, like, they just particularly don't waste shots. You know, like you get a lot of young, naive people who guns blazing, and that comes off every now and again. But the players who have been out there for years are the ones who are just, they know exactly what they do with their game. They don't waste shots, and and they get the most out of the game, really.
Yeah, and with those kind of category of players that you talked about in terms of ones that really should be there or making the cut, etc., are you saying that that's kind of like what's expected of them, or you think that that's their kind of mindset going into the tournament, that they're like, oh, well, to be honest, I'd be lucky to make the cut? Is that what you're trying to say? Or more that because of their standard, they're only expected to make the cut, or they shouldn't really be there, or they are competing?
Yeah, I think...
I mean, I asked that because, again, another thing that people say, like when you go up a level to European Tour, or obviously PGA, LPGA, whatever it is, people just talk about that kind of mindset of the best players, right? Like separating brilliant players and the elite is that mindset, being able to play in front of crowds, being able to play under pressure, etc.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, like, I think from looking on from an outsider, like looking at the standard back then, there probably was that 50 people who probably shouldn't be spending the money to play because they're not at that standard yet. And then you're right, there's probably that amount of people as well who don't actually feel they're at that standard. And like you say, that they can't compete. And I guess like they're trying to gain the experience and learn so that they can improve their games and that feeling of that they can compete. But I think that works up through the whole levels. Like for myself, like you graduate for Challenge Tour, and like all of a sudden it feels a bit different. Like for some people it doesn't. Some people naturally progress and they have the confidence to just go off and just keep improving. But that certainly wasn't for me. I had to, like, I spent a lot of time on EuroPro, 6 years. Like the light bulb moment, a lot of things changed the year I changed to like progress the Challenge Tour. And like so my confidence went through the roof that year. But then on Challenge Tour, it was kind of like I started quite well, but then soon got brought down to earth, and it was kind of, should I be here? Like, can I travel the world doing this? Like, there's a lot of good players here, and you do question yourself. And I think it either comes naturally, or you have to work harder and find that belief. And I think some people probably never will find it because it's pretty hard to get, really.
Well, yeah. And give us a little bit of insight in your experience with the EuroPro Tour then, because that's where you had your 4 pro wins. So just give us a little bit of an insight, kind of how that was to play, and talk us a little bit about those 4 wins as well.
Yeah, I think it's a good tour. I think it obviously promotes winning. It obviously promotes like good scores and making birdies, which you're going to need as you go through the ranks. I think from a job point of view, it feels quite harsh because it is so top heavy. But I think if you get your head around the fact that you're not on there to make money, you're on there to progress. I don't think you particularly make money playing golf until you keep your card on the main tour, unless you've got a very, very good sponsor. And I mean a good sponsor because it's expensive. So, but yeah, that year, 2011, I'd made some big changes. I'd changed coach that year, the previous winter before, and I'd got rid of a bad shot in my game, which was holding me back, and the year sort of spiraled quite nice. I can't think how early I actually won, but yeah, I won 3 times in that season, and won the Order of Merit by about £10,000, which is a lot on EuroPro.
Yeah, I mean, which was there any of those particular wins that were kind of the favourite for you? Was it just the first one because it was the first one, or was there a particular favourite out of those?
The first one was nice because it was at a venue where I'd won the first year in 2006. So I probably felt quite comfortable. But there's no guarantee then that I'd got a Challenge Tour card. So I think the second one, which I won in a playoff, and finished the round well and birdied the playoff hole to win. And that pretty much guaranteed my card for the following season was probably the win, really. And it was a decent event at Galvingreen Castle where they have main tour now. and it had some spectators and fans, and it was pretty cool. So that was probably the biggest win of the year, because it did guarantee that top 5 spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third win was kind of icing on the cake, really, and it was a very relaxed win, really, I guess, because I knew I was already guaranteed to get my card, so the pressure was off, really, then.
Yeah, because the first one came in 06, and then the other 3 in 2011. So 3 wins there in the same year. I mean, was there something going on that year? Were you feeling really good at that time, just playing really good golf, or was there anything particular that helped you to that?
Like you say, I think I changed coach back end of 2010. Worked really hard that winter. Felt really confident that I'd put a lot of work in. And yeah, it's like any sport, really. When you feel you've got confidence on your side, and I think I finished top 10 every week, apart from maybe 1 week when I missed the cut. And I think it snowballs. Like, you look at it at all levels. Like, you'll see a player, and I think on Challenge Tour this year, that Santiago's Challenge Tour, he's got 110,000 up already, and he's finished top 5 times or something. On Challenge Tour, that's unbelievable golf. And like, what's changed for him? Like, probably not much. He's just got some confidence. And I think if you're in a confident vein of sort of golf, you can play anywhere in the world and do well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Is it just confidence? Sometimes it's really the only thing you need. Just playing some good golf and get yourself on a run.
I think the hard thing is, like, people have the conversation, like, how do you get confident? And like, you've got to play well to be confident. But how do you play well if you're not confident?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think it is for you personally? Like, is it just hitting a good shot or a few good shots in a row, or is it a tournament win, or is it a good finish at a tournament?
Well, that's the thing. It's chicken and egg. What comes first? But so for me, you can't really break that cycle, because like, you got to play well. You need confidence. To have confidence, you got to play well. But so I used to say to myself, like, I used to get confidence from the fact that I'd worked really hard, like in practice. I'd done the hard yards before. So I got the confidence from, I did a lot of performance games, a lot of performance tasks. And I used to like beat my own PBs, set PBs, beat scores all the time. So I should be confident, because I was doing well in practice. Mm-hmm. So I feel that oozes then through into my actual games on the course in tournaments, and that's where it came from. So I think a lot of people probably don't practice, maybe not hard enough, but like well enough, and like make it hard and challenge themselves. So when they come to compete, they've not already had a little taste of competition in the practice.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, because for example, like a lot of amateurs like myself, I mean, when I start to hit bad shots, whether it's on a range or on a course, I can tend to look back at my swing and go, it's this that I'm doing, or it's that I'm doing. Yeah. Do you get that as a pro? I mean, like, if you've had a good tournament and then you've had a bad one or a bad round, would you normally look back at maybe like the highlights and you go, oh yeah, with your coach, and I can see that I'm doing this or I'm doing that? Or is it just you are doing everything right, like you always should? It is just maybe confidence or just a bad day at the office?
Yeah, I guess it's maybe a little bit fortunate situation to be in as a player, because when you're on tour, I had a coach travel quite a lot with me as well. So you kind of always having that checkup. I guess so you never kind of went into as many bad habits as probably some amateurs do. But the one thing I used to take from him when I didn't have my coach on the road and I did have a bad score, I used to always just say, like, you don't become a bad player overnight. Mm-hmm. Like, you might get 65 Thursday, 75 Friday, but it doesn't mean like all of a sudden you're swinging it like an octopus. You know, like you probably hit a couple of bad shots and you've made 2-3 bogeys or something. It's as simple as that, isn't it? And I think it's just having that reassurance that your swing is in a good place, and it is such fine margins, isn't it? Like with golf, like it doesn't take much to hit it 10 yards offline sort of thing, and that could be a double bogey on some holes. So yeah, I think a lot of maintenance. I guess there is a lot of positive talks with people, a lot of coaches, try and keep you on the straight and narrow, and like I say, not overanalyze things when things feel like they're going a little bit pear-shaped.
So if you had like a tournament the next weekend, for example, and you maybe were doing something, I don't know, not quite right with the swing, would you even try and work on that stuff in between tournaments, or would you just kind of try and keep it simple and just do what you normally do and just try to remember what you always work on in the practice, etc.?
Yeah, like I say, I used to always debrief. So I'd always send an email out to everyone at the end of the week. How's things have gone well? What's gone bad? What I'm going to do next week? my coach would probably sense it. Like if I was crying for a bit of like support, and I was like, this is not right. I'd send a video to him, and then he'd kind of dissect it, and he'd know like even if something was wrong, like what to say in terms of like he'd brush over it. Oh yeah, things look great. Like just a bit of bandit. Like he wouldn't try and intervene too much, even if I was kind of crying for help, really, sort of thing. So I think every player is different. I was never particularly a technical player. I was very feel. I stand on the range, hit 10 good shots, it feels quite nice to go play. Whereas some players would be out there all day searching for feeling or having to sort of like grind in a feeling or sort of ingrain it in. Whereas I'd be hitting it left on the course and I'd hit 5 swings and see it go right and be like, yeah, I'm happy with that, and go play golf. So I think I was pretty fortunate to be able to play like that. I didn't need to sort of, let's say, spend hours on the range hitting balls and sort of tire yourself out. It was always one for half a basket and be done, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I've listened to Bubba Watson talk about this, and he says kind of similar to what you said in terms of if he's having a good day and he's hit 2-3 good shots, sometimes he'll just walk off the practice range and just go, look, I'm happy with that, and I want to keep those swing thoughts or whatever good vibes in my head. And sometimes if he's not quite doing it the way he wants, even then after 2-3 shots, he'll just leave it and start again the next day, kind of thing. And because he just doesn't want to, there's no point hitting 150 or 50 balls badly, is there? Not much point in it.
I don't know, like it's funny, but I don't know what you're kind of searching for sometimes. Like how many perfect shots in a row do you need to hit to say, yeah, that's good? Like you hit 2 or 3 that you're happy with, and like for me, like I've got a feeling there, like I can go play golf now. So unless you're absolutely winging it off the planet or something, and like you need some serious like
some tweaks.
You've got to think the level what guys play at. You can't be a million miles away, can you? Like you say, how important the head is, and like being in a good place. You walk down the range and watch 100 guys hitting, you probably wouldn't notice much of a difference. But you put 100 guys on a tight tee shot, and you'll notice a difference because they're worried about the shot. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think there's no substitute for playing golf, I don't think.
No. And so as I mentioned at the start, obviously you played on the European Tour as well. I think you played last, it was back in 2019 now. So again, tell us a little bit about that, your experience with the European Tour, maybe some of the differences again between that and the kind of tours that you had to play on to become pro, etc.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I did 94 appearances on the tour. Shame not to get to 100, but who knows? Maybe still time. But I think the biggest difference. I have this question a lot. The biggest difference for me, certainly course setups, is different. I think you go from playing sort of challenge tour and EuroPro venues, what are maybe more corporate golf courses or resort courses, what aren't set up for a tournament. Well, they are, but they've not had a year's preparation for the tournament the next year. Where the setup that goes into a main tour event is a different level, and like the rough, particularly, like the reward for hitting fairways is a lot bigger, and the rough around the greens is a lot thicker. So that was my difference. I played 4 years in Challenge Tour and really got by. Didn't particularly do anything great, but I didn't change. I didn't become a different golfer from getting my main tour card in the end of 2015, and then going straight on to tour and making 90% of cuts that year. I just think I got a reward for being a pretty good driver of the ball. So on Challenge Tour, there wasn't really that reward there for driving it straight because the rough wasn't that penal. But on the main tour, you had to drive it pretty straight. So I think I got a reward for driving it well. Like hit a lot of greens and always that putt was pretty average. But on main tour, you could kind of get away with that and finish 30th quite a bit. So I kind of got a reward for being a decent driver of the ball, I think.
Yeah. I mean, either at the start when you started on the tour then, or maybe even say if it's after 10 events, did you make any changes at any point to try and become a better player for the European Tour, or did you just want to stick to what you knew?
Not really. I think I had a team around me, and the process was there. Like just kept working hard, and I think after a few decent results, like you see, you started to kind of feel comfortable being out there. I remember maybe 10 events in Austria, and it was a re-rank that week in my category. So if I did well, I would have re-ranked from the bottom of that category, like 2/3 of the way up. So it got me quite a few more starts doing that. And I remember last round I played with David Howell and Richard Bland, and I knew they were good players. They'd been out there for a long, long time. And that last round I shot 5 under, and them guys both shot level par or worse. And I remember getting some positive feedback from them both. I remember feeling like I played with 2 established players and kind of gaining the respect that, you know what, I'm out there and I'm doing all right, sort of thing. And that was a big turning point for me, I think, that day.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I want to just touch on before we let you go, you're also the co-founder of the 2020 Pro Tour. So do you want to give us a little bit more information about that for anybody that doesn't know what that is? And yeah, just give us a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So obviously my playing career started to slow down back end of 2019. Obviously COVID then hit us. A friend of mine who was a co-founder as well, Adam Walker, who we caddied for me quite a lot. We just had this sort of ambition to set up this tour, which we had in the back of our minds for quite a long time. And so we set up the first sort of mixed gender sort of tour with a policy that allowed them to play together for a full season. And it's into its second year now, and it's gone really well. So it's north of England predominantly, mainly Yorkshire, with 20 events a year, and yeah, it's been great. It's some fantastic players playing on it to keep sharp and keep a card in the hand and to win a few quid as they go along. But then it's been great to see a lot of young players develop and go through the sort of years I did, see them win, see them like compete in tournaments with better players, and yeah, it's been rewarding for that side of it for me as well, and it's been great to provide more playing opportunities for the ladies and men in the game.
Awesome. And how's the system all set up then? Are they just playing the rounds together, but it's only men competing against men, and like, is it 2 separate kind of leagues, if you like?
It wasn't for the first 18 months. It was actually combined, so they played for the same prize money.
Okay.
The ladies just played a 15% shorter course, but we actually have split it now. With various reasons behind that and research for doing that. But we've got 10 more events this year, and we'll restructure a few things next year again. But no, it's been a good 18 months.
Awesome. And then you're doing a bit of coaching still at the same time, right? I know you've got some stuff that you put out on Instagram, etc. You still did a bit of coaching?
Yeah. I do 3 days a week, mixed coaching of any ability, and quite a bit of performance coaching in there as well. And again, I love it. It's a fantastic chance to share my experiences and knowledge and pass on some sort of golden nuggets for players. And I coach beginners, but then I do love as well. Like, I've got a few elite players who have these sort of conversations. You know, a lesson might be more chatting than hitting balls sometimes, and just kind of mentoring a few young lads along the way, and a few lady pros as well. And yeah, it's good. Got a lot of good things going on.
Awesome, man. So anybody that wants to check out the 2020 Pro Tour, they can get it at 2020pro.tour on Instagram. And then it's 2020 Pro Tour on Twitter, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then for anybody that wants to check you out, you've got chrishansongolf.com, and then Hanson Pro Golf on Twitter and Instagram. So yeah, listen, Chris, thanks for taking the time out to speak to me today. I really appreciate your time, and
it's good, mate. Nice to meet you.
Good luck for the future. All right, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers guys.
Thanks, mate. Bye.